realize that there's something missing. Second, you go up a block and you stop the one way, it becomes dual again when you take it forward. Let alone the fact that people are questioning why isn't this one way and first one way. So people want to know.
I live in third. I live between 8 and 9, and I was sort of just imagining one ways and thinking about how, to kind of move around. And actually, if you go all the way from 9th to Main Road, it's going to really impact on 9th and Main Road. Yeah. Whereas if you only do it on one block on either side of 7, it means that you get the one-way impact across 7, but it does mean you can go around and come back easily, Because otherwise, like if third, for instance, where I come out, there's one way that goes in the mornings, which is actually impossible. Yes. There's a lot of traffic there. And if it was one way the other way, I'd have to go right down to Main Road before I could come back again as well. And that means that you're then loading those roads. That's why I was wondering if he had modelled it, to test it. Whereas I think if one just did it for one block, it means people can go and come back. And you can still kind of get out on either side and disperse traffic rather than...
Is he going to be coming to our simulation? Adrian? Because please check on that, because he's done all the traffic counts and all of that, so he needs to come and help us in traffic.
Okay, shall we start?
So we have three residents. Fantastic. 4.
You consider that sufficient? 4 residents? What do you think? Meaning, how you
can only invite.
Sorry?
You can take people to water, but you can't make them drink.
Well, I never received an invitation, okay? I found out about this meeting by mistake again. Just letting you know.
In that form?
Yes, I fill that form in every single time. No phone call, no email. And I write in very neatly my email address, and I just don't get notified. Jean Duminy on the MRA, also no invitation. Suzanne Brenner on the MRA, on this group, no invitation. So, unfortunately, your invitee, the reason why there's so few people here might partly be because not enough people were invited.
No, I don't think that's the case.
No.
Well, give us a list of the invitees then.
We've physically brought people to multiple meetings. We've met people in the streets.
Give us a list of the people who were invited to tonight's meeting. You can solve it.
Well, just check it.
So maybe next time, if it bounces back, can you maybe try?
That's what she's saying. It doesn't bounce back. It doesn't bounce back. That's what she's saying. That it doesn't.
We have to have a copy of the incentive to just a list of all the people.
Yeah. We can make it available.
And maybe just send that list to everyone. You can also just double check. And I got mine. So,
Well, I'm afraid you've got my email address wrong. Someone phoned me to say, do you know about tonight's meeting? A couple of hours ago. And if you see my email address as written and the email address that it went to, it's not my email address.
Okay, thanks everybody for coming tonight. Tonight is a opportunity to consolidate all the information into these drawings. You're welcome to draw on them, write in them. Consider this to be a work in progress. We're trying to get it ready for a final meeting, which is scheduled for.
So that's not the final meeting, that's just the second meeting to present the urban design guidelines.
Okay.
So the final meeting will only be at the end of the project, should be late September or early October.
The final meeting.
Final meeting for
For
what?
this focus group or for everyone?
No, for everyone. For
public
everyone.
meeting.
So that's the final
Okay.
meeting of the plan.
So is this the final focus group
Focus
meeting
group.
for built form?
So it's not the final group meeting for, it's the final meeting for this aspect of the plan, which is the urban design guidelines. So after this, we'll move on to the next phase of the project, which is the urban management plan, as well as the implementation plan. So we can have more workshops if there is a need. Or if people would like to have more intimate workshops at those phases of the project, then we can make ourselves available as well. So this is just for the urban design guidelines.
Okay. We obviously are spatializing what has come out of the different meetings, and we would like to scrutinize what came out of those meetings, and at the same time we want to also put in what's missing. So if you don't mind, I would want to orientate us first. So the ones that we started to get quite detailed are the ones like in Maine, 7th, Lothbury, and Rustenburg. I also want to orientate you to some documents in progress around what the planners have been doing. They're trying to give us a interpretation of the RSDF. So in here, in these documents will tell us the different zones and what is allowed. Okay? And then that is applied over here. There's also a copy of the heritage.
Yeah, the one for the SDF, the one done by, for the impact
But
of
that-
the corridor.
Oh, so, but that basically covers the whole corridor, huh?
Yeah.
So it goes through, it's hard to pick up exactly where this is, but basically goes Kingsway, Perth, I'm not sure where this is.
So, Garrett, your comment last time was there's not enough detail. So we've made a concerted effort to start putting in those detail. We're not 100% done with all the streets, but it's just a load of work that has to go into here. But also we have to remember that these are not drawings that's going to go out to tender necessarily. These also will change. There's also, for example, radii for curbs and so on, which we don't have to put them in. But I think what your question was, what are the sizings of things so that those becomes the rules?
Yeah, what are the parameters people have to work with?
Correct, yeah. So we've started to do that, and if you can just sort of cast our attention to those things. So this one, for example, and this is a casual discussion, we look at Main Road. So Main Road, for example, in terms of its heights, is allowed 6 stories. However, we as a group have agreed that we want to keep it at 4. There's also a level of conformity which we want to start keeping. And we've started to allude to forms and shapes which we would like to start finding out how to create a document, almost like an aesthetic document, which is what Eugene said the last time, that they can start looking at an empathic way that the architecture starts hanging together.
Could I ask you about these here? You say that the height at the moment that they're allowed to be 6 stories.
Yeah.
Is that each property on Main Road, or are there properties which don't have 6 stories height?
It is all the properties on this road.
Up to.
Is this now the corner of 4th
Yeah.
and Main?
Yeah.
Okay, so going up, where does it end? The 6-story, is it First Avenue?
Yeah, because beyond that it wouldn't be business rights, so.
And that's explained to behind us, is that right?
Correct.
Okay.
So the yellow is what could be added to the existing, basically. White is sort of what exists.
Oh, so
Yeah.
this is what's here at the moment?
Yeah.
Correct.
Okay. All right, I understand.
So we rectified this document with a planner that says that that's not meant to be 4 stories, it's actually 6. But we need to create another table that says the recommended height is 4.
So you say this document is wrong?
This number here is incorrect because it's telling us what the height.
The maximum height permissible in the zone is 4 stories.
It's 4 to
but
6.
then- so it's 4 to 6, but then in adding the parameters that people would like in the area, we are going to prescribe that it's capped at 4.
I understand you. I understand that that's what you say has been suggested. But is this document the policy document?
No.
Is it your proposed recommendation
Is that
document?
the RSDF?
Is this the RSDF?
Yes, so that's the current policy.
That is the current policy.
for regional
Okay. And you say this is wrong. 4
It's 4
stories
to 6.
maximum is actually wrong.
That's
It's
what
either
the
4
waiver
or
says.
it's 6. It's not 4 to 6. What's the maximum?
So you can have 4 to 6.
Yeah.
You
No,
can
that's
have
a-
4 to 6.
Yeah.
It's not,
The
it's
max
not
is then
strict
6.
like that. You can have 4 to 6, you can have 4 to 8, you can have 6 to 8 in certain areas. It's not 6 to 8 in this area. I'm
And
saying in other
okay,
areas.
now I just want to ask for the record. You say this is wrong.
No, it's
The
not
RSTF is
wrong.
wrong. Maximum
It
4
says
stories.
Just 4.
Can I just have a
Okay,
The
so
thing is, you see, with 4 floors, you don't have to have lifts because you can walk up 3. So walk-ups is 3 flights. You can walk up 3 flights. The minute you go above 4 floors, you have to start putting lifts in. That's why it's 4 to 6. So you can develop up to 4 without putting lifts in, which obviously has cost implications. The minute you put a lift in, it changes the cost implications. So people can choose to, you know, if it's viable to put in a lift, then you know people would probably want to
Yeah.
develop to 6.
Okay, I understand you. So this is here. Is that right?
so that's the corner of it.
Oh, sorry. So
this
this
is
is south.
So
This
you're
is
looking
north.
at the photograph
I
in
get
that
you.
direction.
Yeah, this is first,
I get
second,
you.
third, fourth.
And
This
is,
is spot.
is this the extent of any proposed
I think this
redevelopment?
is this first here. That
Yeah.
would be 4th, 3rd, 2nd, 1st.
Yeah, 1,
So
2,
right up to where Postnet is. Postnet is also.
1, 2, 3, 4, and a little bit after 4.
And these have obviously
That-
got
that-
rights.
Isn't
Yeah.
this where the existing 4 to 6 stops? At
That's
4th Avenue?
that's those flats which have been redeveloped.
Okay.
Here's the spa centre.
Yeah,
I think.
No, yeah, I
And then-
mean,
Roxy's
the
is
existing SDF for the corridors, it's 4 to 6 down to here,
Okay,
and
so
then beyond
that's-
that,
we have to
it
take
didn't
out.
change, right?
No, it didn't change at all.
Yeah.
No.
All right,
So
so
But
that's
it's still, because I mean, Roxy's is 4 as well.
So are you
Roxy's
just so we know the parameters then?
Yeah. I think we need to check that.
Is this where your recommendations end on Main Road? Corner of Main
as a
and Fourth.
group, that's what we had to discuss. What is our recommendations?
Okay. Well, might I just suggest the following? And if you look carefully at your own mandate document from the city, this area is characterized mainly by single-story residential homes. This area, of course, has been here for a long time, and so the amount of disruption might be relatively less. Anything beyond Fourth here is going to be highly disruptive to residential homes coming further down, even to Fifth Avenue or Sixth Avenue. And in any event, your study area ends at Fifth Avenue, as per your map behind us.
Is that what the group wants to agree on, or
Okay, sorry, it says here that this is, it goes down to 6 on this side of Main
Sorry,
Road.
how can we as a group
It
agree
stops at
on...
at the spa on the west side, and it goes down to 6 on the.
Yes, but that's
On
your
the east
RSTF.
side.
Okay, this is here is the study area according to the city's mandate to Denver, and it ends at
Yes, I
Fifth.
know, but the thing is that you know the lines don't just stop where the boundaries are. Urban design goes beyond the boundaries.
I'm not interested in going beyond the
I
boundaries.
know you're not interested, but the point is
Okay.
these are
This document says goes beyond.
proposals. They
Let's
will be
do things-
applied. They will be applied.
do things to the book.
the-
That's all I'm suggesting. Here is your mandate.
No, this
You end
goes
at
down,
Fifth
but
Avenue.
Melville doesn't end.
Okay.
Melville carries on further down than that.
Yeah.
And
It-
this is what's currently zoned.
It ends at Fifth Avenue. That's your study area. Please, I'm here to make sure that it's done to the book and according to your mandate, not beyond your mandate.
okay?
That's
So this document says that you're allowed to go all the way down to 6.
Yeah,
all. No,
Which
it-
on the
document?
west side.
It says it doesn't say you're allowed to. It says that they will
Specifically
consider.
from street to 6. Yeah, but the point is that those properties there have already had their rights changed, the ones that have developed. So beyond Roxy's, there's 2 other buildings.
It
that
says
have
it
already-
consists of urban along Main Road, specifically from Streetley to 6th Avenue to the east of Main.
Yes,
Okay.
which is this side of Main.
And why is this coloured in this colour?
Because that's got those
That's the
business
area.
rights.
It says it's got business rights. Where does it say 6 stories?
That's within the parameters of the rights that go with business.
Sorry, I
That's what we
don't
will
understand,
check,
so I don't accept that.
So as part of, from the last meeting, we agreed that we would provide you with the full documents of the RSDF or the other documents.
I've got that document right here.
You've got the RSDF?
Yes, and I'd like to see where 6 stories is okay for 6th Avenue.
No, it's fine. We'll refer you to the page number.
While he's looking, please carry on. I don't mean to hijack the meeting. Please carry
But
on.
Melville also goes right down to there. So the mandate is there.
Okay.
The mandate is not there.
Mandate is Melville.
Here's the mandate. Here's the mandate
Well,
document.
that's
Please read it.
It's open
This is the
park.
mandate to Denver.
No, we're talking about
okay.
I mean, from the various meetings we've had, there's been many revisions in the nature of work that we've been doing, and we've gone as far as including the pathway. So if there isn't legally any problem with us extending the study area a bit, if that's what the community wants, we are willing to consider it. That was
sorry.
just the proposed study area.
Are you
that
from
we
the
were-
department that mandated Denver?
So I'm from the JDA.
Right.
From the
And
JDA.
unfortunately, the JDA often thinks it's a law unto itself. It gets its mandate from the city of Johannesburg.
Yes, we do.
You
Yes,
don't give permission to Denver to
Yes,
do
we
anything.
do.
The
So-
city does.
So we are working along with the development planning department, and we do not do anything that they would not agree to. They come to our meetings when they can. We are not doing anything that is
How did you
is not
define
legally
that boundary?
permissible.
Because this has been a sore point for a very long time. That actual grey area, this area this purple area, who did that line? Because it's
Yeah, so in agreeing about the study area, it was an agreement between us and development planning, because our study area was actually much smaller, and then development planning requested that we actually extend it all the way to 5th and to include A Street as well
Okay.
as First Street.
I hear you. I understand you. And this is where it ends, is 5th.
So
So it
that
doesn't
was
matter
the
what the
proposal.
RSDF says. It ends at 5th. That's
So
your
that was
study
the
area.
proposed study area.
No,
That
that's
was
the
proposed.
mandated study area, ma'am.
But according to whose mandate?
Why don't you go look at the mandate document and read it?
But according to whose mandate? Because that study
The city
area
of
was...
Johannesburg's
But
mandate.
we drafted that study area.
Yes,
Why
and
don't you
you
revise
drafted the
study?
area
So
on
that's what
5th
I'm
Avenue.
saying.
The problem.
Okay, so that's what I'm saying, that we've revised it so many times. And it's not something that is impossible to do. So if that's what we have to do, we'll do that.
I'm
So
afraid,
revise it.
I'm afraid that's a problem, and that's because you haven't consulted with the community about revising that.
Well, they
But
haven't
you
can't revise
consulted
it at the end.
anyway.
But this
You
is
can't
part
do
of
that because the community
consultation.
don't know what you're doing.
But that's the point of us consulting so intensely.
But right at the very last meeting, you say we'll change the study area.
But this
That's
isn't
not
the last-
consultation.
but this is
It's
not-
not inclusive and it's not
But it's
transparent.
not the last meeting, Derek.
And I'm glad this is being filmed because I've been to every single meeting, and now you're changing the goalpost
But
right
it's
at
not
the
the
end.
last
But
meeting.
the point
But
is
it's
that
not the
you
last
look
meeting.
beyond, these are suggestions.
The MRA, the Melville Residents Association, doesn't want you to disrupt the residential amenity of Melville. And they
but that's
don't
the
want you
whole
to go beyond 4th Avenue.
All right, so we accept that as an
of
looking
input,
at
but we
that.
need to hear everyone else's input.
That's fine, but I represent a lot of people.
Okay, that's fine then. That's fine, but we need to hear everyone's input.
I disagree about you representing everybody, and I think you often take, you just consider that you are, and you don't think you actually consult all these
Yeah.
people. So I
I'll
think
tell
that you
you-
also
I'll tell you
shooting
exactly
from
what
the
my
hip.
mandate is,
Can I
because you've
finish my
no-
sentence, Derek?
Finish your sentence, but I'll respond, and I'll tell you who gave you my mandate.
But I think that often you also just throw these into the meetings, and it's very disruptive. What we're trying to do is a positive change to this area. We're trying to say it must go up to 4, not 6. If somebody builds 6 over there, we are trying to help the process to go up to 4. So you have to recognize that. That doesn't mean someone's going to do tomorrow. It might be 20 years, it might be 50 years when we're gone. We're not even here anymore. So
Okay, well-
let's not make this a sour point. We're trying to, these are amazing ideas that we have here.
Okay. Now I'll tell you, the Melville Residents Association are elected by the residents. There is a committee which runs the affairs of the Melville Residents Association, and that committee formed a subcommittee called the Precinct Plan Subcommittee, of which I am a member. And so I'm here in a representative capacity, not just as a resident.
And we
So does
respect
the
their...
opinion of other residents...
So
not
don't
count?
tell me I don't represent
No,
people.
but this is a participation
You unfortunately,
process.
no, you
David, don't let
listen,
anyone finish their
Denver,
sentence.
you've unfortunately undermined the MRA in this entire process.
Okay. Denver, if you just present the plan, let's not get into debates about who has a bigger constituency or whatever.
Yeah.
But Derek, your inputs are noted.
Thank
want
you.
the
I'd like
stat-
them minuted.
Yes, you do not recommend that we go beyond that boundary.
Thank you
but
very much.
we would like to hear what everyone has to say, and then we'll put it to a bigger forum continuously in all the engagements that we're having. Where would you like this to, or the boundary of the precinct plan to be?
So, I mean, part of this is also, business and
Yes.
people who are not members of MRA.
Yeah.
This is a public participation process with everyone
about
who has
consensus and
a
democracy.
vested
Sure,
interest
but
in
as we
the area.
know, businesses come and go. The residents have been here for the longest.
Well, yes,
We
I know,
will
but
also go one
residents also
day.
come and go.
Yeah,
Yeah,
but
yes, yeah.
yeah, let's have a look at how many of these businesses have been around for more than 10 years. Okay, I don't speak for
Yeah,
MRA,
yeah.
but that argument doesn't hold water.
No, but I'm saying what's happening now is also about business interests.
And
Yes,
my
yes,
hope
but
is-
business interests don't override residents'
No, no,
interests.
no,
No, they
but the
don't.
whole point is they need to be part of the discussion.
could I
Yes,
introduce
they can be,
Anyway, we're gonna
but
take something
no,
down.
granted, if you own the
From
business
them as
there,
well.
but not in terms of further developing the area, because that impacts on residents. It doesn't impact on you as a
But
business.
their opinions are about what's being proposed, and it might affect their shop.
Could I just introduce Greg? I don't know if you've introduced yourself to anyone.
No, I
Greg?
haven't introduced myself.
Greg Kruger.
Yeah,
Greg Kruger is the chairperson of the Auckland Park Residents
I'm a
Association.
member, co-opted member.
Okay, he's a member of the Auckland Park Residents Association. And we've got a map here of proposals regarding Lothbury. Lothbury falls within Auckland Park. The Auckland Park Residents Association have never received a communication from this team.
You know nothing about it.
Nothing. So there's been no consultation with the most affected people.
The first I heard of this was 2 hours ago. I was asked, we actually got an APRA meeting at 7. And I was asked, I happened to be in a meeting in Parkview, and they said, is there any way you can attend this meeting? It's the first we've heard of this.
You were requested by the association.
I was actually notified by the association that a meeting's taking place, who can attend.
We apologize for that. We'll try our best to bring you up to speed.
Well, either you do or you don't. If you don't, then
No, we will
no,
definitely
really.
do. We will. And I think I have actually spoken to someone from...
To who? Tell me who, and I'll take it up with them this evening.
I think it's Natty Cole. She said she was part of the...
No, she's not part of the...
She's not.
No. She's a
No, it's
resident,
fine
but
then.
she's not part of
So
it.
you,
When we set up a meeting with Auckland Park Residents Association, I think that this is not about underhanded dealings. We're not trying to catch anyone
We've
out.
I
tried...
understand that,
We are not
but
trying to undermine the plan of this thing. We're not trying to overlook anyone. We're trying to be more positive about it. We're trying to work together.
bear in mind you aren't the only ones that are working in Auckland Park. Okay? Time and time again, we find out about these meetings at the last moment, or we don't find out about them at all. So I take what you're saying, that this is not happening underhanded way, but I got informed about this 2 hours ago. Now, if you're following due process, and there supposedly is a system in place that you follow to take everyone's views and considerations into account, you would have included Auckland Park, but you haven't done that.
Okay, we've overlooked it. We apologize. Deborah, can you please set up a meeting with Auckland Park Association?
Okay, and we'll take it from there.
Thank you.
Okay. Yes, they've given my contact details. And until such stage, Auckland Park residents know nothing about this. I'll report back to...
All of this is suggestions, and obviously if you
No, I understand. But if there's a due
Not
process,
suggestions, it's recommended.
Then
Final
include it.
recommendation.
no, we will
Also,
do
urban design doesn't stop on the area.
yes, but you're not the only guys. What about the corridors of freedom? Everyone claims that their boundary doesn't stop here. It continues. So we'll get urban creep through all the residential areas there.
That's the point, is this is not being cast in stone. These are suggestions.
But then include the people. If you've got a due process.
We apologize.
Discuss with others.
Yeah. So when will we hear from you?
Tomorrow. As soon as you're
Okay. Have you got the details of Auckland Park?
she's taking your...
Did you know there was an Auckland Park Residents Association?
We knew about it. I did know about Auckland Park Residents
Because we have, I don't know how many meetings
I
with
did
you
not
guys.
know that there was, such major separations between the associations.
There's been about 10 or 12 meetings.
The first we heard was 2 hours
So
ago.
the smaller meetings we've had are just workshop sessions. They weren't
that's fine.
big.
But then understand, when you eventually get Auckland Park involved, they're going to say, but whoa, these 20 meetings we weren't part of.
I'm sorry that
And we're not resisting this. What we're saying is that let's follow it, let's do it together, let's do it according to the book, and let's go forward.
no doubt.
But the moment you exclude us, there's immediately suspicion creeps in. Immediately.
you know that we are finished.
That's not the intention, surely.
No, sure. But that's not any of the developers' intention, but it happens time and time again. So, okay, let's continue.
Then what?
Okay. Okay, if you look at this drawing over here, we've also produced some sections of what that nature could look like. So we want to, with the interventions, you can see that what is a very sparse and very busy road at 3 stories. When you introduce the island, some landscaping, if you include the signage, and if you add that 1 floor, and you've stepped it back. I've also included the 59-degree on the opposite curve. You can see it's nowhere close to that sort of contributing that law.
Where does that come from?
59 degree.
Yeah.
That's a general town planning rule.
Look at the citywide.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And in fact, it's in their new document as well, citywide.
Yeah.
It's about sunlight.
Yeah. So I would like to hear from you guys what are we missing? What could we add in? Is this what we discussed?
So is this a before and after?
Before and
Like
after.
existing proposed.
Correct. Yeah.
And the red is something that's being removed, like that parking
No.
is being.
No. So that's what we must decide. At the moment, there's parking over there on that side, and there's sort of tandem parking on this side. Is that the condition that we want? There, it's permitted.
It's showing 90-degree parking.
Yes, I didn't get a car that was oblique.
Parking over here is diagonal, I think.
Yes, it is. You're 100%
Yeah.
right.
Yeah.
No, you're 100% right. So my question to you is, what do you think about this condition, and can we improve it even further? What do you want to take away?
The diagonal parking is not necessarily a problem as long as a minimum dimension on the sidewalk has been reached. And I think that's the most important thing to define. Because as soon as you minimize the sidewalk to 1.8 meters, just to establish more parking, is when
Unfortunately,
people start walking in the road.
unfortunately, what you see along 7th here, sorry, along 4th, is a lot of businesses believe that the pavement belongs to them. And you actually
100%.
can't walk along the pavement safely because they put chains up and tables and that sort of thing. So you've got to walk in the street.
Yeah.
And that would be incredibly dangerous because, Main Road's quite a busy road as it is. And to make it narrower and then have mixed-use development here with restaurants at the bottom, there will be problems here. There'll be
It's not
safety
making the
problems.
pavement narrow,
We're not
it's
making
widening.
it's widening
It's
it.
widening the pavement.
So you're
So
going
at the
to
mo-
keep the diagonal parking?
Yeah.
At the moment, it's not included there, but it's included here. So my question is, I've shown 2 typologies. Which ones actually work for you? That's your ballers over there.
Okay. Which
So you're
which
demolishing
will
buildings
be
to
closed down at some stage. But
to widen.
No.
if you want to have, let's say, parallel bays here, okay, and there are businesses here which attract patrons, where will they park?
Okay, so that's the answer. We're saying you want to keep the tandem parking there, right?
Well, for me,
I'm just
it's
asking
hard to
where-
make a
where will they
sweeping
park?
generalization. I think it's, if you have the space, if the building is not right up to the building line, like this area here, which is where some of the angle parking exists, even on the current condition, that sidewalk is about 4 meters wide,
Yeah.
which is fine.
Yeah.
Even if somebody comes and puts tables and chairs in the first 1.5 meters, you still have enough space. But if you get into a condition like this, where it's only 2.8 meters and underneath the colonnade, that's when the condition that you see on 7th starts to occur, where
People move out into that space.
the retail starts to occupy that space and people end up walking in the street. So I think it has to be, it's an if this then that relationship rather than just yes or no.
Yes.
So it's about the rules again. So
I
we
think
have to create
this-
different typologies.
That minimum is the important
Yeah.
dimension.
But in fact,
And
the
in this kind of scenario, I would put a minimum outside of that colonnade too, in the likelihood that, because I don't think we want to discourage people from putting tables and chairs out on the sidewalk, as long as there's the space to do it.
2.8 is quite wide. I mean, the Melville one is only about 1.2 or 1.5, so it's
Yeah,
almost
it's
twice
wider
as
there
wide.
than it is on 7.
Yeah. The thing is, I mean, for me, the angled parking works better getting out in and out of busy traffic.
Yeah.
Because when somebody
It's more-
stops to parallel
yeah, it's more
park, it
operational
blocks
anyway,
everything,
yeah.
whereas you can slip off quickly and you can slip out quickly
Yeah,
again.
it's easy.
So-
It's easy to slip in, but it's as difficult to pull out
Not
because
as-
your
But the fact
butt's
that
coming
you're,
out of the
but
road.
the fact that you're at the angle, it's
Yes.
safer actually.
Yes,
If you
yeah.
look into your rear mirror and stuff,
Okay.
it does make it safer.
The one thing that we then need to
But
do
okay.
is to control the leakiness of it, because it's just like a sea of it. So if we had sort of 6 bays and a little plant or something in 6 bays, so just to kind of make it a little bit more, to hold it a little bit more.
You know, the blocks are very short. They're very short blocks. So but the thing is, I think, is to make the corner paving work. You know, so you widen that, so the first parking bay is a bit further in.
Yeah,
So you rather give more space to pedestrians at the corner.
yeah.
And then so you pull this back to here instead of here. You know what I mean? So at the moment they sort of do that, we should, you make it a little bit wider. So also when somebody's pulling out, somebody coming around the corner doesn't smack
Yeah.
into them, And those blocks are very narrow. So to make 6 bays and then a thing and then another 6 bays, I'm not sure that you're gaining a hell of a lot. But also, I mean, if we are going to do like
Island.
an island, then, a lot of the kind of massive U-turning and risky crossing over that happens won't happen anymore either. So I think that, in some ways that island will calm, but it's not blocking off any of the other cross streets, is it?
Because the more parking you take away, I think more other forms of speed control you need. Because if the parked cars do help to some extent to slow people down, but that's not too difficult to deal with. But what I think these two sections are assuming that everything in terms of the building stock stays exactly how it is. But if there's ever a building that gets demolished and redeveloped, I think you need a different regulation for that. And I would say move that building line back. So then that parking plus that sidewalk, you always have enough space.
But the point is, if you pull them back, you're going to get this kind of uneven frontage
What is
area,
the
and
logic
then you don't get
behind
a
the pulling back?
colonnade, a continuous colonnade.
Well, the colonnade could be if the bulk of the building is back, the colonnade could still project out.
Yeah, but what I'm
along
saying
the
is, if the
sidewalk
next building gets built, but this one remains, then you've got this
You
kind
won't
of.
you won't read the urban wall as
I think for me, I'd rather have a wider sidewalk and an uneven building face than an even building face and too narrow of a walkway.
okay. But then how thin is thin? Because we're looking at about 2.8, 3.3 already as it is, and is that
If there's no cafes, tables, and chairs out there, 2.8 is fine. But as soon as they start to do that, then
Most of the cafes and where people are sitting upstairs. I think
I'm
Stone
just
is-
thinking
yeah,
in
I
a
mean,
future
yeah.
condition that may
Yeah,
not be the
yeah.
case. So I think you want to make sure you can accommodate something. Right. The other thing about Main Road is that the sidewalk doesn't feel as wide as it is because the paving is so uneven.
Yeah.
And I think if you flatten that out, if that's one of the prescriptions in the plan, that any time any work is done on this road, you've got to flatten out the paving, it'll help.
It's going to have to step because there's quite a slope
it is a slope
on
now?
that road. So along the blocks, it always steps 2 or 3 times. The thing is, I mean, what one could do is, the thing is, you can't say what's going to be there.
Yeah.
You're right. You could say that on the ground floor you have to step back 2 meters, but above you can come back out to the building line.
Yeah.
So the upper floors are
Yeah,
on the
that's-
building line, but the lower floor you have to
Yeah,
step
that's a
back
possibility.
and give something
you
back.
create an
So
overhang,
Yeah, I mean, that's what they did at F&B in town, is that they gave back 1.5 meters to the city, and then they were allowed to step out 1.5 meters above.
That would make sense.
So
I
those
think
are sort of
it
details.
would also be useful in that kind of section to which side of the street is which here.
So you're looking downhill from here.
So
That's the
this
east.
is that side.
This is
Yeah.
east, no.
Um,
If you're looking
no.
downhill, then this is that
That's
side.
I'm
That's
looking at
the
everything
old
upside
upside
down,
down.
so it's hard. Anyway, whichever side is, especially on the west side, because the residential picks up right there, is to look at this section and the building's relationship to the property line on this side. And maybe there's some kind of setback
We
rule.
also have to be careful we're not taking a lot of developable area away. That
Yeah,
makes
I
it
don't actually know how
unviable,
deep
and that
those plots
They're
are.
only, I think they're only 15 meters. It's quite narrow because it's a...
I'm just thinking if someone has a one-story
30,
house right on the
yeah.
other side of that, and then a four-story wall right at the plot line.
At one stage, we
Right
looked at
next
the
to
whole
it.
thing of making, in some cases they've made the parkings behind the shops. They bought the next stand, so the parking becomes a buffer between the
But
commercial
that's something
and
that
the...
could be included
Yeah.
in this.
I've
I mean,
never
there might be a
under-
number of ways to satisfy.
I've never understood the concept of a buffer.
In other words, you don't get a drastic change in level, so there's a grading at a distance between two conditions, an extreme
But,
condition and a low condition.
Okay, but do you agree that that kind of a suggestion infringes the residential amenity?
No, it's supposed to help the thing, because if you've got a single or double-story house here, and you've got a 6-story building right up against it,
Yes.
that's quite an imposition. So what we're saying is that the business buys this property and puts parking behind.
I hear what you're
Yeah.
saying. I hear what
So
you're
there's-
saying, but what it means is the business, the area that the businesses operates goes deeper into the suburb. Isn't that so?
One plot, yeah.
Yes.
But it alleviates some of the parking issues. Because there's
In
no
favour- in
there's
favour
no
of businesses.
requirement, there's no requirement
How are
for
you?
parking within the existing business rights. It's all off-street parking.
Yeah, but that seems to be
I think it's
changing the problem but not solving it.
Well, the thing is, the parking has to go somewhere.
Yeah.
It
And
must,
if you're
yeah.
reducing it on
Definitely.
the road in
Yeah.
order to get wider sidewalks, then the only other place it could go, if it's not in some kind of buffer zone, is on all of these streets. So which is the worst scenario?
Yeah.
Having it all on the street or
For
having
the-
it contained within
For
the
the
lot?
time being, how does it look for the time being? I mean, I don't go there often. I stay away
Most
from
of-
Main Road.
Most of the properties have that, because behind Mays and Melville Medical Centre, in fact,
There is a parking area.
there is the parking that was residential,
But-
which was taken over.
Yeah, and then
Originally,
behind the old
behind-
cats, there's a parking.
Behind Stones, there's a parking. Behind what was the Spur, there's a parking, and then you get to the garage. And then
Yeah, yeah.
behind the bottle store and Cats, there's parking. And on the other side where the tire place is, there's a car wash, but it's a vacant lot.
Yeah.
So that
and
could
then,
be parking. So in fact, that has almost happened.
and then
all the way along.
further up where the ocean basket is there parking behind those buildings?
There isn't there, but there is,
Isn't there an empty lot on Third Avenue
Yeah.
behind?
yes.
Is that
No,
Third or
no,
Fourth?
That's where the
that's
car
the one,
wash
the
is,
car wash.
where the car wash is, but I mean, that could be
Mm.
parking. On Second, there's the block of flats, and there isn't one. And behind where Postnet is, there also isn't, but all those houses are now businesses. They're not actually residential anymore. There's the physiotherapist, and there was an architect's office, which is not there. Yes, yeah, they used to have offices there. So all those first houses are already businesses. And then, so that house-based business is a buffer between the residential and the higher rise. Or
Yeah, I hear what you're saying.
Yeah,
I do.
so,
In fact, if you looked at, I don't remember it from recently, but from way back, that the town planning scheme, and I got it from the town planner at some point, already makes, it possible for houses in that first block to be like low-key office environments.
Enterprise.
More than, a home enterprise. A little bit more than a home enterprise.
Behind Roxy's now, they're not Roxy's, where Roma used to be, where they've now changed it back to apartments.
Where Roma, oh yes.
They've also done apartment on that first block.
Yeah.
And Roxy's, the house next door is part of Roxy's.
Correct.
And
Yeah.
then on the next block, they've actually got parking in front and moved the business
So,
back, which is.
Are we saying that
that's
that's
great.
a natural phenomenon that happens? We don't have to control. What are you saying? Because
Seems-
we can't
seems to
recommend
happen
this.
anyway.
You can't really do much with the ones that are already there. But
There's a lot that's already there.
yeah,
There's plenty.
but if there's a scenario in which a smaller building like the Supergrid gets torn down and something of that bulk gets built, I think you want something in the plan that restricts how close it can come to the neighboring property.
As opposed to
And
built
even if
onto
it's
that
not
parking.
necessarily about parking, if it's just about an amount of space or an angle, then most developers will use it for parking anyway, because it's the only way they can get value out of that piece of land if they're not
And
allowed to
loaded
build
on
on
the
it.
front. Yeah.
And also, obviously, so many different kinds of businesses
You see it already goes
which-
to properties.
trade there already or which may trade. And some businesses are okay because they're non-disruptive kinds of businesses, and others are very, very disruptive.
Yeah.
So you've got this Ballers nightclub, which people can hear for a very big distance around.
I live at my house.
And yeah,
I'm far away from
and, and we're doing all we can to shut them down. And they will be shut down,
But that becomes
There's
an
a court case
enforcement
now.
issue.
absolutely.
Yeah.
But unfortunately, you see what happens here, and this is something, Denver, which is less kind of spoken of here because we can't control it that much. You've got serious problems with existing landlords who don't mind having tenants who do unlawful activities on their property. So that Ballers nightclub is no permission to have a nightclub there at all. And they're just carrying on. I don't know if they're bribing people or what.
That is a particularly difficult landlord. And
The
you know,
Jesus, that's his name.
yeah. And look at my, I can do what the hell.
Now, there's a court case scheduled for the... No, there's a court case scheduled for the 5th of September.
Thanks for coming. We'll definitely meet with you guys.
I have always said there is actually only one thing that you need to get to, and that's the landlord.
Yeah,
Because
100%.
ultimately, the landlord,
It's monitoring,
they need to understand
licensing and
all of
landlords.
this.
Everything.
The landlord needs to understand what is important, what they can and can't do, and they are the ones who need to be put to task when something is.
Yeah.
When that's the first thing that one should have done, or should do, or have done perhaps.
And we
But I know, of all the landlords in Melville that I know, and I know many of them, that is a very difficult landlord to get. They just couldn't care.
Well, he's been sued by the city of Joburg. The court case is on the 5th of September in the Joburg High Court. And they're going for him now. The reason why is that the MRA did their job. We blocked the liquor license application. They tried to transfer a pub license to a club license, which they can't do. And we blocked that. I argued that application. And the liquor board said, we're not giving you what you want. And then the city of Johannesburg, from their side, have now acted against the landlord himself. And that'll be on the 5th of September. I'll go and watch.
The thing is,
But-
the more
but-
cases like that we can win, the more it sets a precedent
So-
also for people
so-
not to.
And
So,
also the
yeah.
great thing is, it's so important, I don't know, in my limited experience of this, to make the landlord somehow understand the benefit of not doing it. Because you go away from a short-term quick fix like money injection to actually a more long-term sustainable
it's,
business.
Landlords are just interested in the rent they can get
Garrett,
from.
For this
Yeah.
process, though, I think the question is there a policy prescription that goes into this plan that can help prevent that scenario? They set the enforcement aside because that might always be an issue and it's always something that people will have to take on.
That's my question. Does the precinct plan include recommendations as to what the city will accept, the type of businesses?
business
It's a slippery slope, because at
regulates
what
what
point
can
do you
and
cross
can't
the line
happen,
into
but
being
it's
I know that, but
discriminatory?
I've got a friend in Bryanston where someone just developed their property recently for a little go-kart racetrack, right in the middle of the,
And it's your friend?
you know.
My word.
No, he's next door.
Oh, I
And
see.
so all night you get the lights and the music and these cars like this, and he can't stop it. The officials aren't doing anything.
The regulations
So-
here, sorry, business one allows a whole lot of things. In fact, it restricts very little.
Yeah.
So then the next stage is only in terms of the licensing that you get. You know,
So
so,
we need
there's
a
a number of different levels of enforcement. One is it says this is zoned, this you can do X, Y,
But
and Z.
is-
You can build so high, so much FAR, so much coverage, so much parking, whatever else. That's the kind of built form regulations
Does it-
and
does
broad
it-
land uses. But what actual businesses go in is what's hard to control because it changes all the
That's
time.
a challenge.
I mean, we would have objected to a tire place being there like 5 years ago.
And a lot of that
But
is-
better have a
lot of that
fire
is noise.
tire thing than
Like go-karts.
empty
club.
vacant.
Noise is a challenge. You don't mind about the business.
No.
It's about the noise.
And the
Even
ballers,
here, the
Cats
restaurants-
pajamas, people could
Yeah.
live with that, sort of. Okay?
Yeah.
The ballers, it's 10 times as
Cats was
loud.
fine, you know. Cats had nice food,
So,
and people liked it that we go there 24 hours.
Yeah, they didn't like make a huge.
No.
So
okay.
the point I'd like to please make then regarding this part of the discussion is that the MRA are hoping that whatever recommendations are made, it doesn't increase the risk of disruption to the residential amenity. We'd like that to stay as far away from our quiet village suburb as possible. There are areas which you can do it, and we welcome that. We'd love them to be improved. But we're concerned about there being a further encroachment.
But the main thing, Derek, and that is, we would like to know from, and that's the objective,
Yeah.
is we would like to know from you guys
Yeah,
how to do that.
yeah.
Okay.
And that's the objective. It's
Okay.
bingo. You hit it on the nail. We're not here. We're really here to see how should we do that.
Sure.
And I remember the other night when I spoke about the steering committee, somebody, when we walk out here, us, then somebody needs to, from the community, from all the stakeholders, or most of the stakeholders, needs to drive this and keep an eye on that for the next 20 or 50 years, as you know. And that's the objective, is to say,
Yeah.
how will we manage that? Or we need to put a plan on the table, and the managing will come afterwards.
So
From maybe you, or maybe somebody else. That's the objective.
Okay. Well, look, I've made our,
Really,
I've
that's
made our
okay.
suggestion regarding the extent on Main Road. It's been noted.
Okay, good.
So I think that the only real vehicle that lives in this area is the Melville Residents Association, and if that's the reason why we got onto the association, so that we can assist so that this plan becomes a living, working thing, and we can help that. So if it's about businesses who have chains and things, for example, Leon and I have decided to take that on and come up with a plan and go start talking to this business and talk about this precinct plan, creating a guide of minimum width, and let's negotiate what that is. But there are also bylaws that they need to know about. So it's about so if everybody gets into understanding what the issues are, we can start to create that dialogue. Everybody's not going to be amenable, but the other thing is also the question to the city is what is enforceable and not. Like you say, zoning is how much power do we have around those, and that we'd like some answers around that, because
We're
it
just
comes down to
asking
this
that,
often.
we're just asking that the potential risks for future. We know that the city really battles with enforcement. We have to press the city. We've got to threaten them every time we need something done. And we're prepared to brief lawyers and advocates to make sure that that happens, but it kills our resources, trying to make sure the city just does its job. And so we're really hoping, and when I say we, the Melville Residents Association is hoping that the potential risk to disruption of the residential amenity is borne very sharply in mind with these recommendations.
And like I said, Derek, that's the objective. And the thing is, because, as you know, whatever we discussed here now, as part of the process, will go to the city eventually, and they will take that into their plans,
Yeah.
as we know that. So that is really the thing. I must say, the client also, JDA, said to us, and Christo specifically said that property owners are the main people, yeah. And it actually came out in the discussion. You know, the property owners, because your business is 5 to 10 years, maybe.
It's not a business association anymore, because it was a very
Yeah, I
strong
know.
business
There used to be.
I
association.
believe so.
Yeah,
Yeah,
The
I
there
economy
was.
believe
used to be,
But
but they've never.
No,
the
they
property
always
owners are
talk
actually the
about-
main call here. That is so true.
I still say that the business association and the residents association is the one association. That's one thing. The second thing is I don't think that we must think that the city will forever not be able to enforce things. We certainly can hope that that situation improves. The third thing is we cannot be punitive. We have to be collaborative. And if that means that we approach, landlords, in my again experience, when you've sat down and spoken to somebody, they are willing to
Exactly.
they're
Absolutely.
always willing to take
Exactly,
part.
yeah.
Almost never
looks
do
like.
they do the wrong thing. I think if you go and sit with that guy and say to him, listen, this is how it affects the community, you most probably will come to the party.
100%.
It's when you can't get hold of them and they're too far away.
I must say,
And then just the last thing, Derek, I think that, but anyway, I think that most people are willing to participate, and if you can show them the bigger picture and you can tell them, then
And-
it's totally
And they
doable.
need to
The only-
understand the objective.
yeah, the
That's the
only,
main thing.
the only experience I had physically with that with you was when we approached Enrico, and he made 100,000 promises and never did a damn thing. He
That
didn't
also
even put
happened.
one lick of paint on his building.
Yeah, but there are different, of course there are going to be different situations for different reasons. Enrico only had one thing in mind, and that he wanted to sell his building. So he didn't want to spend that money. And also in his case, it had something to do with his brother's illness and so on. But I think for the majority of people who are here, who are willing and want to be here, they will take part. It's not always the right time.
There's-
So there can be an interim solution, like Enrico. What do you do if you can't do something about it in the next year? Or, like Johan, who's broken down his building, I don't know. What are the realities? You must understand it.
There were many attempts to ask him to please help us, and he never did anything.
Yes, but perhaps
Get two cars next to each other there. That's the problem, because we spoke
stronger
about
this
that as well.
forum, the more power they
You want
will
to go
have
straight,
over,
as Jenna right.
You see, that's the thing, is that this forum is going to dissipate quite soon. It will
One
be
mustn't
gone.
think that. So
But it's
We will.
Okay, so she's gonna-
It will have reached its.
she's got
the
a
end of its
potential solution.
functionality.
Again, like Nico said, the point of this is that we would also like to have a steering committee, and that steering committee should exist post this the development of this plan. And the purpose of that is to hold the community together. So that's why we would like to have as many stakeholders, different stakeholders, being part of the steering committee. And it's also to hold them account to everything that is agreed on in this process. Our urban management specialists are working on as part of the urban management plan, will be presenting voluntary sets and how they've been set up, and present that as an option for this community. But it's to make you understand the benefits of being an organized community and the power that you can have in holding not only property owners but also the city accountable, because they also need to be part of that steering committee. So we need to avail, as a city, we also need to avail ourselves to constantly hear whatever challenges you have, and that's to work towards sorting them out more promptly than we have been able to.
So old committees that were set up
Yeah.
a long time ago, which was supposed to have all the, what's it called, a steering committee, I can't remember what it's called. When the city first changed over, and there were these committees that had residents associations, business associations, special interest groups, councillors. They would put a council.
So at this point, we say that it's steering committee, but the formal word for it is, okay, the formal setup for it is a SID. That's what they do generally call. And they need to be accompanied by a business plan, which we will be putting together for the community, but we need to have people being part of that, because there's no point in us putting together a business plan that is not going to be used by anyone.
It's been done away with.
Sorry?
Because of
No, they are
enforcement.
still there. There's just that there was a new law that had to be enacted to make them, because previously they were just,
The problem with all the previous ones we've had is that business wouldn't buy into it.
yeah.
You know, you had to have 80% of all businesses on board.
Exactly.
We got 71%.
So the current policy is that you need to have 50% plus one buy-in on it.
Yeah, yes.
So I mean that's what we need to aim for, and as part of the project, we are also trying to get all the property owners, especially of the business property owners, in order to also get them to be part of the project.
And I
Because
think the other thing is also education, because it sounds like a terrible thing to say. But do you know that the majority of people don't know even the first bylaw or any bylaw? So they don't understand, and that if they do something, they don't understand that it's wrong, they think they can. And I tell you, I always say that goes for everybody. It goes for people who you know, has been part of formal systems or whatever, because they don't know the first two things. They don't know they have a recourse if someone makes a noise next to them. They don't know.
so I mean that's the goal. Is
In
that
fact,
we don't want to just develop a pretty plan and nothing happens, because we accept that even though we will have a lot of capital project or potential capital projects coming out of this plan, but we would also like a very strong role for the community to play. You know, so ensuring that this is a community that you enjoy living in and have control over.
So Derek, we need you here.
The proposal.
So I mean the current findings from our
could
urban
help to
so
manage the
so the
process.
current findings from our urban management plan is that there are various committees in Melville. So you're already contributing to a lot of associations in some form.
Do you have
The goal is
That
what
might
can
be,
you
that might be a
achieve?
practical suggestion.
Yes.
However, as you well know, there's been a Supreme Court of Appeal court case regarding SIDS,
Yes.
and you're not allowed to have a compulsory SID in an area. It has to be voluntary.
Exactly.
And if you don't reach the certain threshold
Yes.
of people who are going to contribute, you can't force them to contribute.
Yes. Yes.
And so we can't assume that there'll be a SID. We can't just set one up, unfortunately.
Exactly. So that's why we're saying that you need, I've indicated that you need a buy-in of 50% plus one
Yes.
from everyone interested
right.
in order to form it. But we can't do it for you. You need to do it for yourselves. But we're bringing the information to you and telling you this is the situation, and this is
I've
the.
got all the SID information in my office if anyone's
The
interested.
SIDS work in areas where people have
Yeah.
money, so they can continue to fund it.
Exactly.
But when people are taking financial strain, SIDS don't ever work.
Yeah.
And unfortunately, there are some SIDS that do exist, but you know Melville, I know Melville.
The problem is
I'm
we
not
never got
quite
the
sure.
businesses into it.
There's been talk about a SID for years, since Amanda Forsyth's days. She wanted a SID here.
And
It's
way
never
back
happened.
before that as well.
Yeah.
Long
So
time.
I'm not quite sure that this will translate into a SID.
So
I'm just
part
being
of-
realistic.
Okay, so part of that is for us to hear from you why it can't work. And if not a SID, then what will work? What do you need? What do you think should be in place?
It's unfortunately beyond our control. The city of Johannesburg has a structure in place which is meant to deal with illegal land use, and it doesn't operate. That's just the fact. I can tell you from personal interaction with law enforcement, land use law enforcement,
Yes.
that they have so few resources, and they're so soft that you wait 5 years to close a commune. You wait, this club, how long's Baller's been open now? About a year. And you just wait and wait and wait. So what I'm suggesting to you is that residents in the area would like to feel secure, and they'd like to feel as though more is being done to look after their own interests, as well as the business interests. And when the risk, when you develop further, higher and denser, there's naturally a risk which follows. That there's more to police, there's more to make sure that things go right. And this is from our sad experience up until now. It hasn't been a good history with the city of Joburg.
One of the problems with all the previous applications was that most of the problem is in the area of caused by the businesses. And residents are saying, why must we pay for the SID when it's actually the businesses that are creating the problem?
Exactly.
And the businesses are not willing to participate and pay their share of it.
And for the last,
So that
yeah,
was
you're
one of the
quite
big
right,
issues. Yeah.
You're quite right. And for the last few years, there has been, nominally at least, a Melville Business Owners Association headed by Clyde, what's his name?
Clyde,
David.
Whatever. He
Clyde
owns that
on
little,
Fourth.
that little shop across the road that sells teapots.
Clyde
Okay?
on Fourth.
And they have never wanted to speak with the Melville Residents Association. We've asked them, we've said, can we work together, see if we can discuss things, and they weren't interested. So I would love, if I had a magic wand to take out, I would love the Melville Business Owners Association to form a strong association where they are socially responsible, deal with the Residents Association and work together on stuff, where we can accredit those businesses which are great. And the other guys don't get our support. But that's in a perfect world.
Yeah, but the issue with the businesses was that it was the property owners that were responsible for doing it.
Yes.
And they were saying, no, it's the tenants that should be. And of course, the tenants didn't want to be. So I think there are issues around, you know, who does it, because of course tenants come and go.
It's set in law, it's the property owners that are liable for
But what I'm saying is they never
Yeah.
wanted to buy into the thing. Because all they wanted was the rent. They were all absentee
But you
landlords and just
know,
want the rent.
I think that it most probably is like that, but I really don't think that it won't work. I think,
we have to get them on board.
yeah, and it's just going to take a whole other approach. And even during the MRA, some at the museum, every single business worked with, every single business paid, every single business, if you said to them, turn off the music, would turn off the music. And I think, and it was absolutely the most wonderful experience. And I think that if you are bringing something to the party that actually has enough behind it to make people buy into it, they will. And that is what I believe.
How do you feel they could buy into it?
I think what we also need to note is that from our research, no SID has been able, or there is nowhere in the city where they've been able to form a SID in less than 24 months. So it is a lot of hard
It
work.
takes a real long time.
Yeah, it is a lot of hard work, and it's something that doesn't happen overnight. And that's why you just need the consistency. You need someone to start. The
Yeah, but the
important-
steering committee that works
Yeah.
towards this.
What
Exactly.
authority would a steering
As
committee
a
have?
first step.
So a steering committee can have terms of reference. that
What do you mean by
bind.
terms of reference?
So what are the terms of engaging, basically, as a steering committee? On what basis are you, as different community members, sitting together to discuss, and
Can
how
a-
are you going to enforce that?
Can a
So that's
steering
why it needs
committee,
to be.
who would a steering how would they fit into the structure
So-
of city governance?
So as part of the steering committee, you then need to have people from the city as well.
On the
So
committee,
yeah, so you
on the
need.
steering
So our urban management department is very important for that. So that involves all the service delivery departments in the city as well as
There's
JMT.
actually a structure set
Mm,
out in
yeah.
the management plan. It actually demonstrates how this will fit in with the city structure.
So the
It was
city.
actually presented the other.
Yeah, so the
other
city
night.
needs to be part of it, because there's no way
Yeah.
it can work without the city being part of it.
And, the,
Because they have to take responsibility.
and again,
for the things that we need to do.
yes, and again, they will work according to this. They will use this as the base. I mean, I'm not staying here, but really, that's why we really need input on this thing, because they will use this and say, this is what you said. Because, and the reason why I'm saying this is, they're paying us to do all of this. The JDA is paying us to do all of this. And so they will say, you had your opportunity. And that's why we really need to get this thing how you would like that to do it. So that you can use this and say, this is what we put on the table, this is what we thought through, this is how we see this.
I mean, the hard stuff is all in the regulations.
Exactly.
It's the soft stuff.
Yes.
And
Which is
that's where,
about, yeah,
and
that
exactly,
needs
and
the
that's why
steering
we're here.
committee,
It's
yeah.
the soft stuff.
Yeah.
But eventually this will become the plan.
Yeah, but what I'm saying is, we can put all of those things in place. place.
Yeah.
But how people comply with that, or
Yes.
how people respond to that, is the critical thing, because that's the
Exactly.
moment in which you have to
And
engage
And
with
that's
people.
why
And that
we've now
needs to be managed.
Yeah, and that's why, I mean, previously, precinct plans didn't have urban management
Yeah,
plans.
yeah.
So that's why now we've
That's why
started
they
to add them, yes.
Because you can say you're allowed to do X,
And
Y, and Z and build so high, but it doesn't,
It doesn't mean anything.
you can, as you know, people can interpret that in a good way or in a really bad way. You know? Yeah.
I think what's also nice about this thing is, that, like I said the other night, there will be a priority of projects, you know. And which one will be derived first? You know, what do we want first?
But
And
also,
then
I mean,
second.
things like we haven't got onto 7th Street, but I mean, things like experimenting with closing things. Those are
Yeah.
not things that you go, you know, we don't get to go out and construct this thing now. We experiment with a number of things. So, you know, you experiment with changing those into one-way streets and see how it works. And if it doesn't work, then
You're
you
talking
revert
about
to
the
something
testing.
else. Yeah, so
That's-
there's a whole lot of things that
yes,
you know.
and we're moving closer to that now, into our testing phase.
I'm saying the
right?
steering committee needs to kind of
Exactly.
deal with that as well, because
Exactly.
that's
Sure.
part of the
We spoke
exploration,
about it,
yeah.
exactly. They're going to be part of that. You're absolutely right.
You know,
And that's why
because
we
you're
need
not
the-
going to actually be able to preempt all the things that we go. You have to put the thing together, and when you find a weakness in it, you need to
Yeah.
change and alter and make it work and make it stronger and stronger and stronger as you go along.
But I mean, you know, you can experiment with this as it stands at the moment without investing any money. And then if you see that it works, then you invest the money in improving the pavements, improving the lighting,
That is-
you know,
yeah,
the
that's the
temporary
intention.
bollards,
Okay.
all of that kind of stuff.
We,
yeah.
to move on, are we saying, to close this part of the conversation, that the steering committee is potentially the way to go with the city being on board?
That's for the community to say.
Okay, but that's a mechanism that we can
Yeah.
look at. Okay.
Yeah.
All right. Now,
I think if the urban management plan, which was presented the other night to the focus committee, you know, if that's presented, and then so that everybody can actually see how it fits into the structure,
okay.
then one can actually comment on that.
Okay, so that's the tough part. Okay. To go through these different posters, so we've
You want to
discussed.
start with one?
Well, we've kind of discussed this. There's nothing glaring
Where's
there.
two?
There's nothing. 2 is actually 4th. I've got 2 here.
Yes, I would like to see that first.
That's the last one. This is 2, but we haven't done the detail of it, which is actually something I want to ask about. So this looks down 4th. So Nikki, you over there somewhere.
I think let me see. Yeah.
And the theme around these areas is around heritage, landscape, trees, and creating a road, especially past 27 boxes, that allows a good definition between traveling, parking, and, for example, at 27
And
boxes,
pedestrian.
so pedestrians, but also tuk-tuks in front of here, and so forth. So that's why we haven't really included, because it's exactly the same as last time. We haven't gone into that detail.
So
But
the idea that you do one of these, or
Correct,
this
yeah.
one's more plan-based, probably.
Correct, yeah.
But just one thing, I know was an earlier model,
Yeah.
but when you return this curb,
But,
I would
I actually wanted to say,
put the tree there,
Yes.
because otherwise people just park on the curb.
please comment on that. Yeah, that's
Why do
important.
you think I have those? I drove past Bambanani one day, and they were throwing away one of those dust bins, those old concrete dust bins.
Make a
So
note
I
of
asked
trees.
if I could have it, and I put it
Some of
all
the red
along the
grass, some of the
tube,
red.
just so that people can't park.
This is important that we get to know this.
okay. Then the next
If you
thing,
put it there, then can't people still driving behind the trees? They do.
yeah, but I mean, it's
You shouldn't be that wide.
Ja, hulle ry agter die bome in.
the Fourth Avenue, guys,
Is it elke dag?
guys, I need your opinion on this. So, 4th Avenue, if you read here, the permissible land uses, shops, business purposes, excluding showrooms and warehouses, residential building offices, excluding banks and building society, places of public worship, which there are churches, places of instruction, which there are schools.
Is that how it current is?
Yeah.
How it is
Social
currently?
halls, home enterprises, and medical consulting rooms. It says that setback is 3 meters for those type of buildings, but if, and this is where there's actually a flaw, if you're a house, you have to be 10 meters away, which means that most of the buildings will lose their living rooms.
Yeah.
So there's a flaw in that, and then we've asked the planners to relook at this, and we want comment from the city to tell us how do we actually deal with something like that, because that's 100% correct.
Okay.
Because
think
Is this the
it
second,
varies.
is this the second page of that
Varies all
document?
the way along.
Because this here says
Some that are right
non-residential
on
land
the street,
uses
yeah.
that are complementary, ancillary, directly related to, and subservient to residential use. Is this the second page of?
That's the broad plan.
Yeah.
These are the, so this is that detailed section there.
Okay.
But it's asking, but I guess it's asking you, what is the image above this?
Image of.
So you always, oh, okay, so you're always reading text and image, text and image.
Okay, but this just says subservient to residential use. I'm not quite. I don't.
I don't understand.
There's so many words. You know, I don't really know anymore what they mean.
Okay, my question to you is there any opinion around how this street needs to develop other than its public space? Is there a recommendation? And I simply ask this because within the boundaries of the law, a planner who was actually a resident asked me, how do we see the street? Is it a mixed use street that you want, that is envisaged? How do we see that? My question is, do we want to have a opinion around the same way that at Main Road is that we cap it at 4th and that it has, and I've created particular shapes so that it looks triangular roofs so that it's not glaringly sort of bulky buildings and they relate to the existing, so it starts to talk about an aesthetic form. How we implement it, we can still need to flesh out. But is there a similar kind of opinion around the way that street is shaped?
Existing rights here are 3 stories, right?
Correct.
Not frequently allowed, but.
Right. But would there be any reason to change it from that?
Maximum 3.
It's
So
the
But I
maximum limit that they will consider,
yeah.
I
but
think
they very
we just-
seldom will allow.
And that's
Yeah.
because
Let's say you're
both
three.
the buildings across here are already 3 floors.
I would say we just keep
I-
that as it is.
I think we keep it as it is, and the
Yeah.
reason why there are definitely businesses, lots of businesses along here,
Already.
but there's lots of residential homes still also along
Yeah.
here. Many.
Most of them have changed into some sort of
There's very
enterprise.
few.
And
yeah.
non-residential, for instance, there's 2 churches
I
near
can t-
Picabello.
the-
There's the Dutch Reform and the Methodist
Methodist,
Church.
yeah.
Can I tell you, on this whole stretch up to Picabello, there is Gale, Corsi's Haven, and that's not even residential really. There's almost there is almost nothing residential all the way up. No,
But it's still
I
Airbnb,
know.
yeah.
There's
I mean, they're
Nippercheek.
purely-
Okay,
they're
are.
not residential one anymore. They've been turned into home enterprises.
But there certainly are houses. You know, if you go up to the first circle, is this Main?
Yeah, there's one
Yeah.
opposite
Go to the
us.
first circle. There's houses around that circle that are all residential.
Well, Corsi's Haven is on the one corner and they're not. Diagonally opposite Michelle operates an illegal establishment. On the other hand, on the other corner, I live there.
In
I
Corsi's
don't live
Haven,
there,
in Corsi's Haven, is that for small kids?
Yeah,
No, but whatever it is.
But then that is residential for young children.
yes,
No,
but
it's a
it's not
commune for
residential
young
one.
children.
Okay, that's already,
It's a commune for young children.
yes, yeah,
Nevertheless, the young children who live there.
yes.
No, but the fact of the matter, it's
So
not
that's where they
necessarily
live.
correct.
That's where they live. It's
But-
residential
and
for
also-
those poor
and
kids.
it is,
As
it
consent
isn't
use.
necessarily-
Okay, but
Yeah, that's fine. I
so
think
there
we
is
leave it.
residential. So
I think along here, it's about managing traffic.
it's just
Yeah,
it's about the
between
traffic.
the
So
existing rights
residential or business, whatever.
and heritage protection,
I
the
can
building stock is pretty well dealt with.
Okay.
Does everyone agree that at peak hour, if you come down 4th, right, towards these robots at Main,
Yeah.
there's a queue right up like 3
Correct.
blocks.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's very bad congestion at the
Derek,
moment.
the problem is not only that. The second problem with the traffic on this road has to do with what happens on Main. Because if you have a party place like Roxy's or whatever, the cars park here. And what happens where the cars park on both sides and on the pavements,
Right,
and then they
yeah.
have the pumping music, but a bottleneck.
Yeah.
So the one wants to come from the front, the other, there's two, and they cannot go past, and you have this thumping
It's the
music.
same on 7th.
Which is why,
It's exactly the same.
why you're creating the kind of
Correct, yeah.
islands. And
However, by the time you get here, you have to have 2 lanes going
Yeah.
across because you have to let someone go right and go straight in there.
so
There's already 2 lanes there.
I said that's why you have to
Right,
maintain it,
only
you have to
in
keep it like
Chile,
that.
Yeah, but the thing is to maintain it at this section down here. So when you
I
get
don't
from
know
there,
if it's good
then you
enough.
have to do it.
Because
Okay, so
the
that's what you're
problem,
saying.
So is this, sorry, can I ask about these indentations here then? Is this to narrow the road?
It is
That's
to,
to prevent-
it's to frame where
Yeah.
parking, where not parking, so that you don't end up parking in the street.
So that the 2 lanes are for moving cars.
So,
And then you widen the pavement in some places and you pull parking back in.
so then why don't you just paint a big solid red line there?
Because then you have to have it
stopping.
enforced.
There should have
red
been a
lines
red
aren't
line when
enforced,
they
but if there's
resurfaced, they didn't
physical
come back and
barriers.
paint the
Yeah,
red
you have to
line.
have a physical
Legally enforced.
Which is
why the-
Yes,
Not
yeah, along
issues.
here there's a red
They
line on
actually-
this side, there
people
should be
actually
a red line on this side.
drive behind the trees.
Don't you
yeah.
think that that'll just create the log jam further up?
95% of the drivers
No,
claim
because a lot of the log jam is the parking on 2 sides,
sorry, I
and
don't
only
see
one
red.
lane of traffic.
Okay, so this is more
Wait
controlled.
for
This
it
is
to
more
happen.
controlled than yeah. This is
When
more
parking
controlled.
is
also why they
signified
drive through
clearly,
traffic
you know
lights.
where to park and not to
I
park.
notice there's parking here.
There, yeah.
There's parking here on the
A
left
few,
as you're
yeah.
coming down there. But is there, I
No,
don't think cars
no.
are allowed to stop here anyway.
Well,
They're
they
not allowed
should,
but
to
they
go
do
on
it
this
anyway.
side.
That's what
There's
we
no
Well,
said.
cars,
maybe-
I don't see any cars
No,
parked here
the
ever.
cars can park there. They can't park on this side between 6 and 6.
I've gone to some psychologist here to help him with something, okay? And I've got to park on the pavement. You can't park here, you'll get your car bashed.
Yeah, you can't park this side, but you can park that side. This
And
is
when
no
you-
parking
But I
from
think
6.
They need some spell check at this castle
The parking is actually
to suit.
At
Sweet.
7th Street, it's really bad.
No, if people have visitors in these houses, they park on that street.
Yeah.
I must say, I've never noticed it.
Yeah,
Look, I don't think you won't be able to
I'm on that street,
fully
yes, I know.
solve the traffic problem without just getting cars off the road. But I think this, a more controlled parking
That's the main
structure
objective. Is
is
just to
much
have a more
better.
controlled.
This may not be the biggest problem area for the parking, but around next to 7th, especially on this side of 7th, it's actually really difficult to get up to that robot at 7th because cars are coming in, and when they turn around the corner from 7th on the 4th, they can't see that somebody's waiting there. There's parking on both
Go down to
sides. There's only
30.
space for one lane. So I think
Okay.
I'm happy with that in principle. Obviously, the details aren't
I'm
in this,
trying to
but
answer- that's what
for
I'm trying to
me,
answer.
it's the right way to deal with it.
I like it.
So, no.
Just for
I like
Derek's,
the, I like the parking
So you say is
yes, just so that it's
this-
clear, Michael, so that
7th.
you know that you never would park
So
on the
first
street.
block between 7
At the moment, it's blurred.
That's actually
Yes.
that's actually 5th,
Like
but
here,
7th is up here. Yeah.
Like here, but all the way.
Yeah.
I like that very much.
It's, with enforcement,
But see, the idea is
But
that
the-
you're not supposed to
naturally
enforce
enforce
this.
it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You don't need to
Listen
enforce
now,
it because there's a physical barrier.
We're gonna
I'm listening very close.
yeah. Okay, I can see you look in my eyes. Yeah. Now we're gonna test this. That's the reason why we have that test. So, and you're gonna be there with me with your reflective vest. And we're gonna test that. No, I'm just joking. Yeah, Derek, we're gonna test this. That's fine.
Okay.
So we're gonna test this and see is it working or
All right.
not, and then we can say no. And
7?
afterwards,
Yeah.
we can have a
Guys, 7.
Okay.
Right. So similar bite-ins, sort of indentations, and the typical condition is that the corners become highly pedestrianized with clear markings, and this is one suggestion that you can have landscaping on the corner. The alternative to a curve is that if this was your 90 degree, that you have a curve like that, is that this ends up going like this, but this is detailed.
No, the comment I wrote on this one is that with the trees, the way you're modeling it, When those trees are planted for the first 10 years, the foliage blocks your view around the corner, so you can't see what's coming.
Okay,
So it's either it's low landscaping,
Correct.
or it's bollards
Or a big
instead.
tree.
So can I just make a comment? So
If
on
you can
that,
plant a mature tree, yes.
so someone made a comment once, I don't know if it was in this forum, but they specified the height of the crown, so that this height is particular, it was 3 meters or something like that, and this was always
crystal
500.
detail.
Crystal. Okay, so that's
That'd be okay.
that's a technical. So that obviously not the tree that we're gonna plant in one day.
It has to be designed in such a way that people
Not a
can't go
shrub
up
that we hope will come on.
don't go ugly and fall.
The big. So, are we happy that certain things get wide and certain things get indented?
Yes.
What is that word?
I would, I mean, this is detail again, but I would actually raise that pavement up so it creates a bit of a speed hump
Yeah.
So,
on all four
Is there-
sides.
is
So
there a
you
traffic-
cross
is
as a
there-
pedestrian on the level.
Have there been recommendations formed from a traffic study regarding that, or we're just messing around with
So
here,
we've done a
at the
traffic
table?
study, but no recommendations have been made.
Yeah.
So there is a study of current conditions
Yeah.
where you have blockages and where they cause or what's the cause of them, but no recommendations on how to deal with them, because that is something that we need to decide with the community and also test and see if it works.
okay.
Maybe I can just.
We had a long meeting on traffic here.
Continue. It's a minor thing. Just that the foliage could block the robots.
Yeah.
But anyway.
We actually saw in George now.
How much space there is
In
for
George,
trees.
they've got a. I saw a picture from a road in George. They've very close to Nice now. They actually this section here now. They've got some brickwork here. It's just a different surface, like a red color or something.
So you have
it's
that-
amazing what impact that has on.
Can I?
So you've
Can I-
got
rather than
we've got
that-
raised
Yeah.
intersections in Terfontein.
Exactly. Yeah.
Can I-
It
And they're
works
different
perfect.
Can I
surfaces,
also
yeah.
just comment that the levels for this road is that if this is a 0 level, that this is 150, that's 150, that's 150, 150 millimeters, 150 millimeters, so that this goes up and goes down. This changes when you get to main road. Obviously, this is 0. Obviously, at main road, you don't have this. This is where you come up onto that level.
Yeah.
When you're on here, this surface is exactly the same level.
Yeah.
So when you say 150 at the
150
red
millimeters.
stripe there, what do you mean?
That raises
Oh, yeah.
up, so when you come
So you
down,
go-
So your car goes slightly up like this.
Guys,
you're not speeding
I
through.
must tell you, I feel that practically everyone's going to slow down a great deal at that robot, and you will have worse traffic congestion
No
if you put a
robot
hump there. Is this main and,
No, this
fourth?
is along 7th.
This is
Seven.
This
seven.
is where 3rd and 2nd cross.
Oh, sorry.
Yeah,
Is this the top of 7th?
That's bread and roses right there. And this is
Bottom.
the
Oh, the
empty
bottom.
studio.
4th and
Lucky
7th.
Bean is here.
Yep.
And this is
Yeah.
De La Creme.
Okay.
And then there's
Okay. All right.
a suggestion that this gets bollarded off, so that this is the only other public space in this whole entire area that is truly public.
What is that then?
It's a public space that you actually just
Outside where?
outside
Bread.
that art
Outside
place.
Lucky Bee.
Outside Lucky Bean.
Oh, there.
Is this the
Because
Can I ask you who made that suggestion?
it came up in one of the earlier meetings.
But I'm concerned about that suggestion because that will severely limit traffic in and out of 7th. It's going to make it busier in 4th. And it's... have you spoken to the business owners? Have you spoken to Conway, the owner of Lucky
Conway would be
Bean?
very happy.
You'll be very happy. You can have a look at Joel out there.
The thing is also there's no
guys-
businesses on the one side.
Guys, what I'm saying is that's a
Only
major...
the space.
That's
the
a
space
major...
that they guess from.
That's a major step, and I'm interested to know who made the suggestion. Does it come from the community
No,
or from
yeah,
one
yeah,
person?
from the community. It came from the first
One of
urban
the
group.
first few.
So from the various focus group meetings
In
that
fact,
we've
it
been having,
was.
Could I
other
please,
people-
could I
what
please
is that
have the
name?
minutes of that particular meeting? I'd like to see who suggested that.
I know who suggested it. The group.
I'd like to read the minutes to see who made that
No, but
suggestion.
I'm saying
was
it
one of the
wasn't
people who
one
made that
person, it was the urban group.
Sorry?
So in the focus group meetings, it was just there were posters, remember, I don't know if you remember, but there were posters and people were just free to draw and say what it is that they're proposing. No one put down a name that this is what I'm proposing.
presented for that group.
This is it is a concern because you have 3 people who think that's a good idea. And it's going to affect 1,500 households.
So that's why we're putting it to the community.
But if you're putting it to us now, I'm saying I'm not sure that I would have ever felt that that's a great idea.
Fine, then it gets put there.
I think it's a good idea, but I think it obviously it needs to be tested.
We're gonna, I'm just going to say,
if
we're going
it-
to test it, Derek. If it doesn't work, then it
If
doesn't work.
if
If
it
it
gets
works, we
to
need
a
to
point
test
where
it.
where people are happy with the testing, I think you'd still want to design it in a way that it could be open. So things like the tree in the middle and
Yeah.
the benches all the way across probably wouldn't be how I would do it. But if that's bollarded off, you know, at some point in the future, someone could come and remove those bollards and reopen the street. So I think you can. It would have to be designed for both possible conditions.
I know what I'm talking about when I speak
For
to...
servicing those spaces anyway, so you do that at particular hours.
Yeah.
You know,
But like I say, we're going to test that as well.
Okay.
It was an option that we have to consider that.
So what that means is that Fourth is a major thoroughfare going up and down, and a lot of people turn down here. That if you're in this street, you would continue. So sorry, this is Fourth going this way.
Yeah.
So
So that's up 7th Street and this
Bread
is...
and
to-
Roses is here.
Okay,
So if
yeah.
I orientate it the same way, it's kind of like that. It also means there's an opportunity to just where you enter into this space, it's still called the space. Those guest houses.
Yes, it is still called the
Then you
space,
could
yeah.
have more parking over here.
Oh, Saffron, actually that one is Saffron.
You come in and come back out over there. Okay.
Sorry, what was this?
That's the entrance to the space. So you can't park in obviously in front of those people's garages. There's like 3 garages there.
Oh, so this is vehicular up to that point.
Correct, yeah. So anything
Got it.
you don't need to do anything, yeah.
Can I make a suggestion regarding this space, or at least just have it on record? If this, whether this is bollarded off permanently, or even, for instance, only at night,
Temporarily, yeah.
okay, I feel that if you pedestrianise this area here, this is going to be a major party area, and the residents who live close by, their life will be turned into hell. There are right over here. This is now 5th Avenue. There's guest houses here. There's a guest house here which Johann Strauss owns.
No.
And you're going to have residents right here. This is a very quiet little stretch of 5th Avenue. These guys are not going to be happy to hear that you can put 500 people here who are eating and drinking at night.
It only goes halfway through the block. So that's the 2 guest houses, and that's Lucky Bean. So it's really only just this space.
Just outside, up to the corner.
Okay, but doesn't Lucky Bean go to the corner here?
No.
Oh, sorry,
So
hold on.
there's the 2 guest houses.
But there isn't a road here,
No, there's no
actually.
road.
No, it's a driveway to the garage.
It's a driveway to the guest house.
So that would be outside Lucky Bean.
Just only that first section.
And the gallery,
From
the
the-
art
Only that
gallery.
first section. Art
From the
gallery.
north end of Lucky
Yeah.
Bean.
And
Yes,
the back
understand.
of the Red Pepper Road.
I must say, I think we must have. I have reservations as to whether this is a good idea. There are so many places people can go to already in 7th. Why are you trying to reinvent the wheel here? I don't think that that's going to help the residential amenity at all. And I'm here. It's my duty to tell you that.
But that's why we say we
Absolutely.
experiment.
Absolutely. Yeah.
Okay, so that's
Was there? Did you have this? These drawings for 7th?
yeah. So this is existing condition with parking, driving, and then this would be the other condition where if you cut through an extended paving, you'd have space for outdoor seating.
And there wouldn't be parking.
There wouldn't be parking
On
in
the
that
one
condition, but on the other side you would because they stagger.
So some would and some wouldn't. And
Yeah,
some
so
would,
that's why
some
they
would.
stagger like that.
How do you decide which side
We
gets the
haven't.
parking and which one gets the extended sidewalk?
Yeah, because, you know, it would obviously benefit some
Right,
business.
because if you can do it based on existing businesses that have tables and chairs, but that doesn't solve a future condition which is unknown.
Yeah, but I mean, that would
What are
most
these
probably
dimensions?
drive it into the future, that whoever wants that type of business will obviously be interested in that property.
I mean, wouldn't it be better if the cafe space stayed under the
Yeah.
That's an
the
option.
veranda and the through circulation is on the outside?
Is that something?
The
But what if
other
it's
way around.
raining?
Yeah.
Or what if it's raining?
And there's no tables outside anyway.
Look, if I'm a pedestrian and it's raining, I'm going to deal with the rain.
Then I'm going to sit here under the...
I can't get out of my house without getting wet anyway,
Because
so...
people sit and smoke outside on the table. And
Yeah,
then the
that's
pedestrian
exactly.
has to walk
If it's raining, I
in the
will be
rain.
sitting at one of these tables.
Yeah.
Look,
Have a
Because
coffee.
you also restrict,
but then
I
that's the
mean,
zone that's also
usually it's like
sitting
one,
there. But
I
then
think
what you're saying is that
two
that must
people
be kept
tables,
free.
not 6
I,
people.
I,
It must be.
I actually agree with him because if you have people walking around here and you serve these people, it's unpractical actually. You should have this close to the...
The only
Yeah.
thing is that in plan, if you've got tables and chairs here and this is your primary circulation, as soon as you do that, then these guys don't get any chance to do anything on the sidewalk. But I think that's just a restriction you have to make, that some of these places will be able to get sidewalk space and some of them won't. There's no other, short of demolishing all the buildings and moving them back 4 meters, there's no other way to deal with
They
it.
don't, and they don't all need it, you know, and I agree with you. One could actually maybe let the current businesses drive the idea. And it doesn't actually have to be, you know,
Yeah.
here or there. It can be a whole, it can be
Look, to be-
random. It can be random also. It doesn't have to be,
as per the...
as per the restaurant.
Look, to be honest, on the north side, which is so much better, Bread and Roses has their space. So then that's the logic of pulling this back. They really can fit some tables, but then they don't have. Delacreme doesn't. So
But
it's
they
a bit of
don't want, but Delacreme doesn't really want, as if you look
When
at
it's
it.
sit on the north side.
Well, and they don't have
night it
a
doesn't make any
colonnade
difference.
in front of
Yeah.
De La Creme, so that's one of the ways that
They
you,
do actually.
which might be what you've
They
done.
do actually. They do.
Okay, so is there anything glaringly missing from this?
And
The windows
also,
are right at the
no, I don't think you will have it right at the corner there.
Let those awnings down on the other side of the colonnade, of the strip.
Okay, is there anything glaringly missing from this section or this area? In principle.
Actually, the pavement up the other end is much wider anyway.
It is.
Outside Chai and
Yeah, it
other side.
does do that.
Yeah, it's
Charles'
true.
kitchen or
It is,
whatever.
yeah.
What about land uses?
So it gives detailed design in each section.
Most of these buildings are heritage protected, but I'm
Yeah.
considering the possibility that someone knocks one down anyway. And then what are they bound to when they build new? Because this is all streetscaping, but there's nothing about the buildings themselves.
Yeah, the reason we didn't put anything because there was no recommendation for what.
But is there no thing for that? Because already the
I think the
two-story
current
buildings
height
along there,
limit is
business.
4.
Yeah,
So
all business zoning.
Shops, dwelling units, residential buildings, business purposes, excluding showrooms and warehouse, place of public worship, place of instruction, and
3 floors.
3 floors, 70% coverage, 3 meters setback.
That doesn't
Setback
apply.
from where?
Yeah, it
the
doesn't
curb.
apply. They're all on the boundary.
It's only
From the property line. What's the 3-meter setback from where?
Maybe that's why the ones at the top step back.
Look, it's maybe not worth spending a lot of time on because it's unlikely to happen.
Are we now talking about Lothbury?
Lothbury.
Yeah, let's move on.
So, apart from meeting Matty, who's got all sorts of crazy ideas,
Matty, as far as I know, Matty has got a massive commune type property right on Lothbury, and I'm not quite sure that she's the one that should be advising you on this. I don't think that that's even legal.
Yes.
Okay. Be careful. Just be careful. You know exactly who you're dealing with when you're dealing with Matty, and for her to give you input here, be careful.
well, she's met
is
Jean and
But she's got different interests in mind. That's what I'm telling you.
We met John and what's her name? Suzanne yesterday.
John and Suzanne,
Peterbella.
I spoke to them both today and they didn't mention that they've met with Matty.
She's a busy lady.
She's very busy.
7 o'clock on a Sunday
Got
morning.
to collect lots of
I get WhatsApps.
Yeah.
So she's very
No,
involved.
Matty,
I can see that.
High energy.
Matty has her own interests.
I picked it up, yeah. But like 7 o'clock on a Sunday morning. But it's interesting. She's very dynamic.
I don't know Matty, but I think I must read her.
Matthew's got interesting ideas.
Yeah, very interesting ideas, and it's interesting that. Do you think that this discussion is worth having without the Auckland Park Residents Association being here?
No, this whole process is a continuum of people feeding in, so we will get
Very,
a
I think,
chance to.
yeah, I think so. What's important, let's get ideas from you guys now, and we will meet with them.
Okay, so this image is particularly comes from a comment that came out where when you exit into Kingsway is that something needs to be able to announce the area but also be a positive space, because at the moment, and although a lot of us don't use this simply because we are in our cars, but a lot of people who are employed use this space, and it's a very dangerous stretch between there and there.
So just orient us.
So-
This is
So Kingsway, and that's Lockbury. So this is the APSA.
And what is this?
So that's some spatialized version of.
the rear stations
No,
over
but
here.
Media 24 have used that already.
What?
So it is also a separate
Is this Kingsway here?
It's a separate
Very.
Am I correct that your study area actually ends here? Doesn't go over here?
So yeah, again, that's the proposed boundary. But I mean, that's not to say we can't. We should completely neglect what's on the right.
I think that's what's happening along Kingsway.
I'm
already.
afraid
It's the corridor.
I want things done by the book, and I'm not sure that this was part of the study. What is here at the moment?
It's just parking.
It's
That's the
parking
parking
cars.
lot for media.
And what is this? What is this building here that's been placed there?
So what this is trying to do is to create a positive sort of entrance or environment between as an entrance into here and the public space to entice, invite, allow people to engage and walk. So if I know that there's security here and good lighting and a building where people are coming in and out and there's a coffee shop and an IT corner, I would consider walking to UJ.
So what is this building here?
It is
It's a concept.
it's a
It's
block.
not
It's,
there.
it's to say that there's a proposal that something needs to happen here, something positive, as opposed to a vacuous space.
I think as soon as you start putting something that looks like it could be a specific building, you start to run into trouble.
So how
But
do we want to
Well,
articulate
I would
this?
say that what are the land uses that are allowed here? Anyway, you don't have to answer that now. But my point is that
that's part of the whole
if
thing.
there's
Yeah.
retail, and this would apply to 7th Street as well, and I would say even Main Road, that if there's retail, I think you can require that it opens out to the street so that you don't get another campus square built there surrounding a
What is here
parking
at the moment?
garage.
The back end of Campus Square?
Absa.
Is this APSA the
Yeah.
ball
If you
centre?
want
Yeah.
anything built like
And on
that,
the
that's where you
on the
want
next
to-
little corner here, of course, is Pizza Vino.
Vino.
Yeah.
Okay? You want to develop here, they will shut down, they'll move off. And you will lose a very beautiful, character-filled corner of the Greater Melville area when you want to develop here.
They
I
can
don't,
move to that Danish design
They won't.
that is sitting empty.
they might. I know where you're talking about. By the,
It would
by
be
the
a great
circle,
place for them.
by the circle business.
It's also
But,
right down the street from me.
I don't see any justification if you want positive space. I don't see it being justified by building a big building here.
I think you can define positive by the conditions rather than
Okay.
by
Leave
the
it as it
conditions,
is.
which
Everyone
is
knows that that's
if
easy to
it's
Melville.
if
Let them
it's
drive there.
retail, it
Then
should open to the street.
I get what you are suggesting.
So you prevent big shopping
That's
malls,
like you
parking
said.
lots, parking garages, things
No
that just
That is
shopping
not
feel.
so
centre.
literally that building.
Not necessarily no
but
shopping
I-
center, but
I would say
No,
shopping centre.
But also
internal
bear in mind
shopping.
that this is
First of all,
on the corridor.
You do realize
On the
that
corridor, so
on this particular corner
Yeah.
it's the new res.
is that new res with thousands of students.
Yeah, that's what we don't want.
And
No,
are
we
you
do.
are
We
you
want
wanting
more of
are you
No, we
wanting
want res, but not
Something
the
that is more
condition.
pleasant.
Of course, you
Yeah.
want more pleasant than that in
Yeah.
Sapphire
That's what I'm
Town.
trying to
It's
say.
like a prison.
you want more of that,
There's,
but
you know,
not in the
anything it
middle of
doesn't
our
have is
suburb.
Dobermans running around
Correct.
between the two fences.
Something in the middle of our suburb, and these places that open here
Auckland Park,
will
yeah.
cater only for these people. I'm sorry to say, but I don't think it's going to do anything for the existing residential amenity at all.
Okay, but it doesn't always have to
No,
serve the
residential.
residential amenity.
No,
It
Derek,
can
I think
serve
what I
everybody.
think what
Well,
now I
the
understand
block
what
of flats is
what
also a residential amenity. It's just a very different type of
Yes,
it. But I think
Hugely in
the
demand.
huge block of student prison flats,
can benefit from.
it's also residential. It's
Just remember
a
though,
horrible,
that,
horrible building.
just remember that beyond APSA, right here, is Auckland Park, and they're not even at this meeting.
Yeah, but we will speak to them.
No, but you can't tell them, look, this is what we're proposing, are you okay with it?
Nee.
To be part of the
That was
discussion from the
never mere-
beginning.
It was never the intention, Derek, like we said now. We're not proposing something. We had discussions and it's open for discussion. That's why I say, what do you guys think? What should happen?
You know what?
the
I would
city's
I'll tell the
proposals
Auckland
for-
Park Residents Association,
Because, I mean,
I'll let
that's
them know
critical.
that this is a
Yeah.
So the only
concept,
thing they've prescribed is
it's
height.
not a recommendation, it's a
But then what
concept.
I was
How do they
suggesting
feel
is
about
that we
that?
could
And they
also
can give
maybe
you
look at
feedback.
this as part of the
You know,
SDGs.
Derek,
we will
what
never-
Denver is saying and what I
propose
always
that
said, we have all these entry
buildings
points to
or building
I think with the
permutations
bamboo
are
corner
also
and with what
put in
Alison and
place.
Green, Alison Green and then did with that little sort of
Yeah, of
parking
course. I mean,
area
the
there
height, I
with
think,
nice
is the key.
trees. It made quite a nice entry
just the
to
one that's been
that
designed.
side.
Yeah.
Definitely.
It's just doing
That
it
you
And
can't
then,
control that.
but this, yes, but this is the entrance into Melville from Empire, and it's just got all these massive things. So just soften it up with some activity is what Denver is saying, and in doing so, have some street lights and activity
Okay.
that just makes it easier for
I've
people
actually
to
walked
enter.
this at night, and I can tell you that
Yeah, it's
this
not
first one
racist.
works, but from the second street light all the way down to
Yeah, everywhere.
Auckland Avenue, not a single street light
Hear
works.
from them what the
Not only that, but
And there's all the residential behind the wall on that corner,
Yeah.
which was
I've got a-
supposedly the buffer between the Media 24 Centre and
As an-
the residential fabric.
as an alternative concept, you spoke about parking areas being buffers. If this is a parking area, it's already naturally a buffer between 5,000 students here and the houses there.
There's houses are
It exists
two
as a
streets
buffer
up.
already because it creates space between extremely high density residential amenity and much lower density. It's a buffer.
So yes, but the point is you've got the cluster development now. You've got the parking garage going up on the other side of the road.
Yeah, but
Involved
all I'm
with
saying
the
is there's a
parking
buffer here
garage is
already.
The proposed
And-
6-story student thing, which is being
Yeah, which shouldn't be
Well,
on
that's
street
been heavily
address.
opposed.
Yeah.
And the jury's not out on that yet.
no, I know.
I
but
spoke
I'm
to the
just
Auckland Park
saying,
guys today. But what I'm suggesting is if this is a buffer, a natural buffer as parking already here, okay, between very high density living here and much lower residential amenity here, the densities. By developing something here, you're simply moving the buffer up the road. And that's going to infringe on the residential amenity of Auckland Park. I can't speak for them, I'm just telling you that's what I think they're going to say.
The thing is that somebody's going to develop that land at some point
I don't,
eventually.
yeah,
It's not going to be a parking lot
It
forever.
belongs to
Media 24.
the media company, Afrikaans,
Naspers.
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 Okay.
I think it is nice to make, if I
Something
had to be
something-
coming, driving down Empire, turning into Melville with lovely activity and nice shops and a coffee shop, I don't think there's any harm.
And you're saying-
I think there's enough already in Melville, but that's my view.
You're saying that
Yeah, but
just
so you'd
refrain
rather
it
have the
and
people,
don't
all the
take
people
notice.
come into
Yeah,
Melville.
I think so.
itself.
Develop into a set of rules
think we
that are
should-
You're
text-based
suggesting if you
and
build shops there, then they'll stay out of Melville.
I think what you mentioned earlier was
but
like
it
how,
actually gives
was how it interfaces.
Yeah,
the
Exactly.
corridor.
That it's
So if it is to be developed,
Okay.
how should it
I can't do it
be?
without doing something. I have to spatialize it
Yeah,
somehow.
exactly.
But the
yes.
point is that drawing
But you can leave it- you
is
can leave
quite
that up.
scary.
Yeah, it is.
Sorry to say that, but
How
it
else
is.
would you draw it?
No, you would
So, I mean-
superimpose something,
well, just as a
some sort of image
just
of
as a
The block,
plain
yeah.
block,
So I mean,
Yeah,
and then you let
Like this.
the rules.
yeah. Maybe that's right.
No, like these yellow ones.
or you
Otherwise,
can refer then by
Yeah.
refer
It's
to
just a
This
map.
creates a
entities there
perception.
for
Yes.
context.
this
Yeah.
creates a perception.
Yeah.
out
This
of our
thing.
area.
It does create a perception.
We're gonna block it out, don't
Very
worry.
Yeah.
Okay, the last
But
area.
I like to think I
sorry
have
to
some sort of
prolong the
imagination.
discussion, but regarding that block of flats there, I think one thing we could look at doing, and I think I've raised this before, is there a way we can cap the number of certain types of units that exist in one building? So this building here is what, 400 units of dormitory style
Yeah.
student housing.
Actually, individual.
Oh, I see what you
Is it
mean.
individual rooms? Okay, but they're shared
Okay.
toilets, which I would still call dormitory style.
What to say
So,
for me is
it- and part of the issue that people in that area, and probably everybody here has with that building, is that if you put 400 students in a building like that, you get a student ghetto. Whereas if you put 400 students in smaller buildings that are dispersed, you have less of a concentration of.
You know,
provides a
unfortunately,
different-
Easier to manage.
maybe Lone has got something to say about this, but you go to watch a rugby match at Ellis Park, and you go to walk through Doornfontein, where there are lots of high-density student housing buildings there. It's shockingly dangerous for the students themselves, never mind for anyone else. As soon as you put high-density students, it's a magnet for criminals, because criminals pitch up and they prey on these poor students. There's never enough security. There's a lot of anonymity in the road. No one knows who anyone is because there's too many people walking. And it actually creates, I'm just telling you, my own observations was that I felt so sorry for those guys living there.
But that's why I agree with what he says, that there should be some sort of a spec.
Yeah.
Like if you say that the maximum number of units that share a bathroom in a dormitory style arrangement
True.
per building is 5 or 10 or something like that,
That-
then you
that
don't
would-
get 400 of them in the
That
same
would
building.
change the
And obviously,
person
a
that would
developer is
stay
not
there.
going to develop a building with only 5 units in it when they have that much land available, but then there might be 2-bedroom, 3-bedroom units in there
That's
as well.
exactly.
So you get
it's
a
different.
mixed.
It's really a different.
The target, I think, should be mixed income
Yes.
rather
Absolutely.
than mixed use,
Mixed
or in
income.
addition to mixed
Income
use.
seldom works, you know that.
I know
Like
that.
Seldom works.
no pub news. There's no pub news, I think.
Doesn't work.
On that
People,
corner?
Yeah.
people get
Yeah,
nervous
the
and
corner
they
where
leave.
you
Yeah,
have the
but-
Virgin Active.
Derek,
No.
again, if we say nothing here, like I said, let's put something on the table. What we figured out. If we say
By
nothing
putting
here,
something, you're saying what you don't want.
then it's going to happen anyway.
What's going to happen?
Should be mixed use.
What you
Workshops
said,
at the
they're gonna
bottom.
put
What is the
4,000
existing,
people in
what are
here.
the existing land use rights?
6 to 8 stories, I think. Isn't
Does
it?
anyone know? What is the land rights that exist here
We
right
haven't
now?
got the
I don't know what it's
space in it.
zoned as, but
I'm
it's
not
the height
sure.
is 6 to
Let's
8.
look at that.
6 to 8, yeah.
Okay.
But
Okay, the
again,
last
on the
section,
corridor,
Let's-
so
let's
it's
the
not-
last area that we have
Yeah.
is the sports precinct.
Oh, that's the easy one.
Oh, hickey. Now that.
What this person forgot to show was there's an entrance into the poppies, and there's an entrance and a forecourt into the sports area, and a cleaned up, easy way to walk up. That's bamboo over there, and also coming out to where the traffic light is, with those beautiful, what do you call them?
Mugger's Paradise.
Trees.
Those
That's
aloes.
what you're talking
Yeah.
about.
Aloes are there, and they cross the bridge somewhere along here. But
There's so many smash and grabs here.
What's very crucial, and we did address that, is it needs to be universal access for everybody. So it's not just steps. Universal access for
Okay.
for
But you can
For wheelchairs
universally
and all
walk,
that,
you
that's
can
what I
roll
mean.
down the hill and roll up that hill on the other
So
side.
when you put yellow here, what does that mean?
So we are just trying to formula. We're trying to say that if city parks ever, if a ward council ever had money from city parks, for example, this is what you must use it for.
Yes, I
Clean
hear
up
you.
this area, to make it safer, put more lighting, create a forecourt so that we can actually feel like this is part of our neighborhood.
You know, if you go past on Sundays, there's about 50,000 people that love playing football on these fields, okay? And they park here and they're happy. I'm not quite sure anything needs to happen here.
It's not
But
very
that's the
pedestrian
difference.
friendly.
But that's the difference between.
No pavement.
I hear you, but the pedestrians walk on the other side of the street by the CSIR.
Can I say something? So
Because there's no sidewalk on this side.
that's the difference between yourselves and, for example, me and Garrett. So what we do is we play tennis here on a Sunday, but we get a coffee there. So it's something that we use on every week.
Is this, is this bamboo?
Yeah.
Okay.
I know that the facilities will always be also be
Of
addressed.
all
No, the
of these things,
facilities.
this would be a low priority for me.
Yes,
Of
it's-
all of them
Yeah.
posters
No,
you
of
have.
course, but we have to include it if we don't include it.
Part of this is facilities for these people, facilities for everybody now.
This
There's a
pavement
dance
here,
school over there.
I think this could be much nicer.
Could be so much
this
nicer.
pavement walking along here, it's grass at the moment. Am I
Correct.
right?
Yeah.
What's wrong with it?
It's bad.
What's wrong
You
with
can't
it?
walk. There's no way to walk
Yeah,
up there.
but can
It's-
people with
it's
a
grass
wheelchair,
path.
for instance, like I said, that's
Well,
universal
or if it
access.
rained
Can-
yesterday
can
and
they-
it's muddy,
can they-
you either get muddy or you walk on the street. You know?
I think there's no reason to not
Alright.
include it in just include
So the
it
idea is
so
that
it
this could be what the Koppies and Wendy and her whole thing would, if we formalize the front, that's the best that I could find. But if the tennis courts and these things were all cleaned up and it looked much better if there was money from city parks or from sports and recreation, so this is what it could look like. That's what we're saying.
Yeah, I'd like to suggest one more thing then.
Correct. Yeah.
Okay? I must state this because I've said it from the beginning. This isn't within the study area. However, there's a lot of muggings and a lot of crime which emanates from here. When cyclists come along Rustenburg Road,
Okay.
there's massive problems here. If you see, there's the road and then there's a kind of an embankment going down towards these fields. And fence, some kind of barrier here would work.
Write that.
Okay, would
write that
secure
down, yeah. Just make a note.
travellers along it, especially cyclists. There's been probably 30 muggings in the last year, no, 2 years, along this stretch here. The guys run down the slope and they disappear. They can never get caught. That's terrible.
I mean, some of this has been annexed for parking for
Yeah,
bamboo and also
for bamboo.
They're right next to there, yeah.
Yeah, that's a good suggestion.
All right.
Because we know cyclists use this road.
Is that
There's even
I don't want-
hijacking hotspot signs there now.
okay? So we'll take that into consideration.
Yeah.
Tell me,
Good suggestion.
is there anything that we've left out for all these 5 posters? Any of these 5 posters? Is there anything you want to add now? You're welcome to add in tomorrow if you wake up and you email or call us or whatever. 2 days time next week, before the next meeting, by the next meeting. So
Can you please tell us when will the next meeting be?
Next Saturday.
Next Saturday?
We will
But it's
send-
basically a repetition of the previous meeting that we had. So it's just to allow for people that could not come midweek, and that's why we're having it on a Saturday morning.
That's
Who
for
the meeting
the
be for?
5,
Sorry?
All the focus groups.
all the focus groups.
Yeah, so it's a public meeting.
What time?
9 o'clock.
9 till